All right, welcome to Comfortably Uncomfortable. You've got Sandy and Alex here, and we are here to empower women to choose courage over comfort by getting comfortably uncomfortable. We get real and cut through the bullshit. Are you ready to get a little weird? Because we're going to laugh, sweat, cry, and grow together.
No topic is going to be TMI. Well, maybe for me, but not for Sandy. We complement each other in that way. Okay, so are we ready?
Well, yeah, duh, I am, but are you?
Okay, let's go.
The one with the P. Hey, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you. Have you peed your pants?
Well, yes, I have, Sandy. I have. How about you?
Well, it's cool to pee your pants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard that.
no, I totally have. And I'm not talking about, peeing while you're learning to potty train when you're little. I'm talking being a full-grown adult woman.
Yep.
We've both peed our pants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So today we are going to talk about incontinence. And we're going to talk about the different kinds of incontinence, but particularly we're going to talk about exercise and why we pee our pants and why, let's face it, it is common, right? It's the running joke that I hear in fitness classes of like, okay, if you don't want to pee your pants, instead of jumping jacks, do cross country ski. And as much as I hear the whole room laugh, it makes me sad because we just accept it. We're like,
I mean,
pee our pants.
Added to the list of things that, especially as a postpartum woman, is like talked about but not talked about, like added to the growing list of discomforts that you are now obligated to live with as a mother. Yep.
You know what's funny? That's not the first time I peed my pants was not after giving birth. So I actually did it as a gymnast. So it would be this kind of like, we all knew we did it. And it was all those things like right before we were about to like tumble on floor, it was like potty break, and you just saw all of us like go to the bathroom. And yes, like gymnasts, we are doing high power tumbling. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of stuff going there. But I just want to make sure that people know that exercise incontinence does not only happen to postpartum women. It happens to athletes. It can happen to, maybe you don't consider yourself an athlete and you're like, what just happened? So I want everyone to hear that and say that it can happen to different people in different stages of your life. And we're going to tackle some of that. And I know your expertise is going to be in the mommy hacks. So I'm excited for you to give us those. But just right off the bat, like what is incontinence and exercise incontinence? Well, it's when you pee your pants when you don't want to. So whenever I talk to clients about this, the analogy I have is a soda can. All right. You got a top, a bottom, and an around. Here's the thing. When you pee your pants, especially when it comes to exercise incontinence or stress incontinence, when you're laughing, coughing, I'm trying to think, jumping, exercise, whatever. It's because the pressure in that soda can is not optimal.
Right.
What does that mean? So we talk all the time about core. How many times have you heard people say core? In the fitness industry, in the exercise, I mean, even as an athlete, it's like work core, do more core. That's great. That's only one part of your soda can. So that is like the around part and like the front part. We'll say more so the front part, okay? Because on the back side, you actually have back muscles, which are also considered part of your core, people. That's another episode, right? I'm getting on a tangent.
Yep.
And then we got what's on top and what's on bottom, okay? And what's on top is that diaphragm. And what's like the main purpose the diaphragm does for us? What does it do? Breathe. See, she's like, I already know this, Sandy. You're lecturing to me, but like, I already know the answer. Yes.
Pick me. I know the answer. I can answer this one.
It's breathing, right? And this is something I know you love to talk about because this was something like in particular for you of like posture alignment and optimal breathing. That's the top part. Well, what's at the bottom?
Yep.
What's the bottom? It's the pelvic floor. So if you heard me say this, there are three things: breathing, core, and pelvic floor. core is the one that we focus so much on, and
Yeah.
especially our athletes. You got one strong mother effing core. All right. And in order to not pee your pants, you have to have a balance of all of those
Mhm.
things: your
Yeah.
breathing, your core, and your pelvic floor. So if your
Yeah.
core and your breathing is pushing down into that soda can and putting the pressure down,
Mhm.
where's it going to go? It's going to come out the
Go out.
pelvic floor.
Mhm.
So before we get into like specifically why after motherhood this happens and is more common, just as athletes, you're going to hear, maybe you've heard this, the Volsolver Maneuver. Have you heard that?
Mhm.
You know what that
Yep.
is?
Yep.
Okay. That's when athletes, especially like weightlifters, or if like I, even as a gymnast, I think I did it subconsciously because I'd like kind of like hold my breath and like
Hold.
do
Yeah.
stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
When we hold our breath, we're actually holding our diaphragm down.
Mhm.
Because when you inhale, that's when your diaphragm's contracting and it's going down. So it's pushing, picture that soda can, it's pushing that soda can down. And then now hold your breath. What'd you do?
Mhm.
You held your diaphragm down. That
Yeah.
pressure in that soda
Yeah.
can is smaller space.
Right.
So the pressure increases, and then all of a sudden you're holding your breath and then performing exercise or impact, which is going to add pressure to it
Yeah.
because high gravity, or if you're lifting weights.
Mhm.
And that's why we have exercise incontinence.
Taking it out of a gym, away from athletes, away from postpartum women. I mean, this is always kind of an analogy I use with my clients, because breathing and alignment is the first thing we always talk about, regardless of how far postpartum they are, and resetting that and understanding, looking at the core diagrams, and the diaphragm pelvic floor connection. Picture yourself maybe, or someone as a teenage girl especially, and someone's like, suck in for the picture, and how
Yeah.
you like
No,
pull your waist in,
no,
and you
don't do
like
it.
get into this
Don't do
like
it.
awkward position, and like, but actually nothing's flattening out because you're breathing completely backwards, and you're really kind of like pushing your belly out, and like pushing and pulling in all the wrong places, and it just is. I feel like every woman can picture that as an adolescent girl. Someone's like, stand tall and suck in for the picture, And
Yeah.
then I'm like, as soon as I give you that visual, then you know what backwards breathing looks like.
Mhm. No, and so like I mean, we can do a whole episode on just breathing, and we probably
Mm-hmm.
will,
Yeah.
but just talking about like why does this happen? Like why do we pee our pants, And the added thing is like at the end of the day, I'm gonna keep doing this and say of like go get assessed. Go see a pelvic
Yeah.
floor physical therapist, because
Mm-hmm.
everything we just talked about, that's like high level, just like this is how it's optimally supposed to be working.
Right.
And so maybe all you have to do is adjust and do one of the little mommy hacks or the exercise hacks, and you're good,
Mm-hmm.
because you actually have
Yeah.
the strength and the lengthening and the stability of all of those compartments and all those pieces. But if you find yourself that you don't, go get assessed, because that's the only way you're going
Mm-hmm.
to figure it out. Because here's the thing, the other thing to this whole incontinence thing is you have parasympathetic nerves that are doing things involuntary. So like when you say, people are like, oh, hold your pee, have you heard that? Like, do your
Yeah.
Kegels while you're peeing, and like, can you hold your urine?
Right. Right.
Well,
Right.
not everyone should do that.
Right.
Right. And honestly, when you do that, it's really just focusing on your internal and external sphincter. Yeah, I said the word sphincter. Right. You have you like this in order to make a seal, you have to have your both of them working, the internal and external, and only one of them is voluntary. So if
Mm-hmm.
you hold your urine while you're peeing and yet you're still leaking, you may not have a pelvic floor issue. You could do all the freaking Kegels in the world
Right.
and you will still leak because you have something else happening and going on. So
Right.
again, try not to get discouraged, people who are listening, be like, oh, well, I'm always going to pee my pants.
Yeah.
No, there are resources
Right.
and that we're going to provide. And like, again, like reach out
Mm-hmm.
to us. I know pelvic floor PTs. I'm going to
Yes.
be one soon. I mean, I still got a
Yes.
few years, but like, this is why it's so important,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just about getting Kegels. I
I
mean,
have to say, the women's health PT, pelvic floor PT, that is something I will stand on my soapbox for. Like, that is truly life changing. I mean, knowledge is power, and that is a fairly simple thing that you can do to just really, really set yourself up for success.
and it's never too late. So like that's the thing. It's like,
No.
we have our online programs for postpartum women, and like that's us assuming that like you don't have other things going on, and so we're going to help you get back. So people will ask me like, when should I
Mm-hmm.
start your program, before or after PT or during PT? And I'm like, it depends. It depends,
Right.
because you could do it alongside and it could be perfect. You might have to wait. You could do it before. If it's not working, go back, like, so
Mm-hmm.
again, it's this continuum of how much you need and
Mm-hmm.
why,
Well, and
and
that's
like,
the beauty of an on-demand program too, is that you could start it like, ooh, no, actually, I think I need that, and then come back to it, right? Or like redoing sections again.
yeah. And again, it's like any injury. Some people sprain their
Yeah.
ankle and they're going to need more one-on-one attention to get that ankle sprain,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's a first degree, second degree, third degree. So like when we talk about postpartum and like vaginal delivery and even C-section delivery,
Yeah.
the research is showing that our pelvic floor muscles are lengthening while we're delivering. Now, some people are lengthening just enough to where then their body kind of contracts it back in time, and doing
Mm-hmm.
those just deep breathing and Kegels and stuff can be fine.
Right.
But I think it's at Lori's actually here in Chicago, where the researcher, I should have written down, Rick Lieber, is showing research on how we are like stretching pelvic floor muscles
Hmm.
to where, if you think about any other muscle you have, if you
Yeah.
overstretch it or quote
Yeah.
unquote pull
Yeah.
it, what
Yeah.
do you got to do? You
Yeah.
you got to go to rehab, or you got to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
contracting muscles and
Yeah.
like exercises to make that come back to where
Mm-hmm.
it was. Yet
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to vaginas, that's a different part, that's a
Yeah.
different body part. We don't,
Right.
you get injured
Well,
there
an
and
internal,
just take
yeah.
care of it yourself.
Right. No, here's your baby. That's your reward. You can. It doesn't matter what's going on with you anymore. You got
You're
a
good.
baby now,
You're
so
good.
now you
Yeah.
don't worry about yourself anymore. You just worry about this thing.
Yeah. There's so many things that could be
Right.
happening to where
Right.
your pelvic floor muscles aren't, your brain, your mind body connection isn't working on that, so you need
Mm-hmm.
to work on that. And so
Yeah.
it's this idea of like, let's start talking about it, people. And this is where my quote unquote embarrassing story is. Like, I was auditioning to be a fitness instructor and had to do the master class. My kid is now 18 months old, and I finished the class, and like, I have no shame
Yeah.
in this because I said it out loud. They like were like, okay, so go around the circle and share something about the class. And I out loud said, I peed my pants. And oh
Oh
my
my
gosh, the other instructors looked like,
god.
shush, or like the male instructors were like, what the F?
What?
Who is this?
Oh my
And
god.
I admit, because
That's
I was pissed at myself, because I was like, she's 18 months old. I should not be doing
yeah.
this. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew what I was doing. I researched, I've worked on it, I've done this.
Yeah.
And guess
Yeah.
what? I just needed more time. I needed more
Yeah.
time. And I know that stinks, but being consistent and giving yourself time, yes, I do
Mm-hmm.
not pee myself most of the time. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
If you haven't listened to our previous episode on shame, it's such a good one leading into this because there's so much shame associated, but it's that one of many, again, dirty little secrets that, like, once you say it out loud, the person you're talking to generally is like, oh god, yeah, I mean, that happens to me too. I was thinking about too that, you chatted or you mentioned the C-section scar and that mind body connection and how important it is to, especially when you have a C-section where the nerves are literally severed, to rebuild that mind body connection. And so many people are afraid of that, afraid of pain. I mean, they're just so much emotional, potentially trauma. It's stability, it's strength, it's awareness. Um, it's solvable, but it's admitting and, yeah, awareness first.
So again,
Right, right.
exercise to me, education, PT is always going to be number one. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
not ready to go there and get assessed, and you want to see if you just need to fix or tweak a couple things, like, Alex, tell us what your like hacks or your
Yeah,
awareness
right.
skills and exercises are.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really goes back to the breathing. So, first and foremost, you need to try to reset the breath because without resetting the breath, exhaling to contract that diaphragm, pelvic floor, core to tighten, these won't be quite as effective. But I mean, I'm thinking particularly about myself or clients who are rebuilding, but you need something to help you aside from pads, right? To get through a lot of workouts. So making sure that you are exhaling well before you hit the ground, right? So that exhale, that loud exhale out of your mouth. I know everyone thinks it's silly when I'm like, I want to hear you breathe. I want to hear your exhale. You're like, oh, it's just reserved for Pilates or something, like, no, I want to hear you breathe, because that forceful exhale out of your mouth is going to force that contraction of your pelvic floor, diaphragm, core, tighten everything up so that you're not leaking when you hit the ground. So, box jumps is kind of one that I go to, or any kind of jumping, because you can like visualize that hard impact. But as you come off the ground, starting your exhale so that you're like fully in your exhale before your feet hit the ground on that box. And then the way back down too.
And to add to that, my power lifters, my, heavy squatters who at the bottom, or deadlifters, and you're like, whoa, what's happening? You're probably doing the Volsolver maneuver. You're probably holding your breath, and your abdominal muscles are overriding your pelvic floor, which is why, again, you got a strong booty. Sorry, I'm going to say strong ass core. You do. You have a strong ass core, but your pelvic floor doesn't match. Pull some weight off and now do it while you exhale. It's, trust me, it's so much harder.
Yeah.
Yet you are like, holy crap, I just did it. So power lifters too.
Yeah.
And this might sound easy. And if you're finding yourself that this is hard for you to do, literally reach out to one of us. I mean, my number is on my website. You can literally text me, and no TMI, and I can be like, all right, let's walk through this.
Yeah. And help you find resources.
Yeah.
If it's not us, it's someone we want.
Do not suffer alone.
Yeah. We are here to help you, whatever that means for you. If you feel like asking for help or sharing anything about this episode, you could use the hashtag CUP. That would be CUPEE. But I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Okay, no. This is where we are pushing boundaries and saying, let's make this conversation normal. Of like,
yes,
your challenge is hashtag CUP, and maybe take a video of an exercise that you have peed yourself doing, or like picking up the laundry basket.
You want to do
like put it out there. You can even put a little winky face and be like, you don't have to actually say anything. Just put CUPEE, and like
let's put a picture of a jump rope and like
make it a conversation. Let's show the community that we're here to support. So Alex.
All right. All right.
Look at
you. Okay.
Come on.
I'm in. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you on social media this week.
Thank you for showing up today. Getting awkward is always more fun with friends. Give us a review, tag us, and share us so we can continue to grow together.
Use hashtag CUPod, letter C, letter U, or tag us. You can find Sandy on Instagram at sweatandshineon, and Alex at aj.afterbabyfit on Instagram, and afterbabyfit on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you next time.